what about the Citizens United decision? What does the Occupy movement think of that? This was the decision that said corporations can spend money. We'll get to both sides. Corporations can spend money to have political influence in the days leading up to the election. As you all know, this was a fairly recent Supreme Court decision that changes election law. Occupy, you can jump in and we'll get to Tea Party.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think that
for a corporation to spend money for political purposes leading up to an election, they should be restricted on that?
Especially given the opaque nature of where a lot of this money is coming from and the kind of extreme amounts that are being spent on things like advertising. They really are having a significant influence over the candidate's selection, in my opinion. And I think that whether they're made up of groups of persons or not, they should not be allowed to influence the elections in that way.
Okay, let's hear from the Tea Party on this. Who wants to speak up? Lisa?
Well, I don't think that you can't say that you're in support of the First Amendment. You can't say that you stand for free speech and not allow people to speak with their money if that's the way that they want to do their speech. I mean, I'm not necessarily, I don't like it either. I don't like it any more than you do, but just because people want to band together and choose to collect their money together and put it towards whatever candidate they want to do, they're speaking with their money, and we have to accept free speech even when we don't like it, even when we don't necessarily agree with it, even when we don't like it.
You guys want to respond to that?
I think it's more fiction. Corporations are not people. Money is not speech. A dollar bill is...
Well, corporations can't donate to campaigns. That's still against
well, they
federal.
can't
That was
donate
not
to
turned over
campaigns, but they can use their money for political influence.
Well, they can come together as people.
They don't need to donate to campaigns. Why would they donate
But
to
you
campaigns?
can't, that's not your right to stop them. You can't.
I'm not
You may not like it, but you have to stand by your principles, which is
I
free
think
speech
it's not
and freedom.
the right of the Koch brothers to spend $200 million influencing a couple dozen elections so that they can get the policies that will make them even more rich. And this is what they do every election cycle. They do it in state government, they do it in federal government, they do it in the
But at the same time, George Soros can do it,
And
MoveOn.org can do it.
Right.
Okay.
Are you familiar with George
This is America.
Soros?
This is a free country. And what people do with their money is up to them.
Bob, go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay. I think corporations, if they want to vote, should be given the right to vote as shareholders. They shouldn't be.
Well, they can vote as people. They can vote as a corporation.
When you're dealing with, let's say corporations have all the chips. I mean, they have all the speech all of a sudden. If your side has more money, you have more right to speech than
corporations get a vote where the legislation is actually written, which is in these ALEC conferences where corporations sit on boards and have votes just like the people.
And Max is right on that. Many of these legislation bills, the original Glass-Steagall was 32 pages long, worked perfect, it was great. Wall Street said, we hate that thing. I mean, it's stopping us from embezzling all this money. So they got rid of it, and now the Dodd-Frank is over 3,000 pages long. It does not end too big to fail, and it does not invoke the Volcker Rule to break up the commercial banks from all the Wall Street casino stuff. So Max is right there, but where I completely agree with Emery is there's a lot of hypocrisy with regards to this campaign financing. You complain about corporations making contributions to influence politics. What about unions?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Who's defending the unions here?
And so you can't complain that corporations are spending money to influence elections and say, but it's fine for unions.
Who said, but it's fine for unions, right?
The federal government?
Are you saying that?
Nobody at this table
Nobody
said,
at
but
that
it's
table is saying.
Absolutely not. No, it's
you'd
not.
hold unions to the same.
It's not fine for corporate entities, whether they're corporations, unions, or nonprofits.
The point is big money should not be able to buy an election.
Doesn't necessarily
Common sense.
People donate.
Let's put it in the law.
contribute to wherever they want to, and the result of it is up to the people.
Right. Do you see that once again this is a false argument? Because if you took the power away from the government to be able to be involved in business, then the big corporations would have, they could put all the money they want into it as long as whoever they voted for couldn't do a darn thing to help them. Stop the government from being able to do anything to help business, to help their friends, or to punish their enemies.
The problem is business wouldn't allow it.
Corporations.
Business would not allow it.
Okay.
Well, we have to stop them.
One thing also with regards to the hypocrisy, we hear a lot about the Koch brothers. Koch brothers Family Trust has given $167 million to influence elections since 2000. Since 1979, George Soros has spent $8 billion. You know,
Yes.
so,
One is the
And
Republican.
guess what, Rick? I have a problem with that, too. Just because I'm sitting on this side of the room does not mean that I somehow work for George Soros. I don't know where you guys
We
get
didn't
this
say that.
You
idea.
consider yourself a libertarian.
no, no, no.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm a Ron Paul man, too, Rick. I voted
man.
for him the last election.
It's
I don't
just
think
getting
you know
fun.
that you do, but you do.
Sarah, let me ask you, what are people saying over there on social media?
Well, Mark, just like we have a heated debate at the tables, we've also got a heated debate going online. I'm getting more questions than I know what to do with. But going off of Bob's comment about corporations farting, we had one audience member ask, when will Texas execute a corporation? We've had several comments from the audience and also from our Twitter followers talking about when this discussion leads to action and asking how the sides can come together and work towards making the situation in the country better. Also, going off of that, one audience member asked who on the panel would be willing to run for office and offer their solution in that respect. And we also had an economic development question in about, let's see, the local and regional economy and moving to NH3 ammonia industry and how that could spur some economic development in this area.
Okay, well, thanks, Sarah. Maybe we'll get to that in the online portion of our broadcast. Those are all interesting queries. But right now, we have agreed to give each side a couple of minutes to make closing statements for the TV portion of our broadcast. Remember, it'll continue on Wayne.com. So I guess we didn't flip a coin to see which side wanted to start first, but as the judge, jury, and executioner here, I believe Occupy had the first comments to open, correct? To open the broadcast? I think that's right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, you did. So I will let the Tea Party go with its closing statement first. You have a couple of minutes, and you can divide it up however you want. You can have one spokesperson, or each of the three of you can speak over a couple minutes.
Well, I'd just like to say that when this country was founded, it was a miracle. It was an amazing thing. George Washington spoke repeatedly about how there's divine intervention in the creation of this country. And it wasn't just amazing that we were able to defeat the greatest military in the world, but also the concept that these men would then hand over their power, that they would agree to a very limited government with a constitution wherein we were going to chain down government. We were not going to let government just run wild and do whatever it wanted. And a democracy is basically two wolves and a sheep debating about what's for dinner. The sheep's always going to lose. And a republic, you don't have that because we tell the government you can do this, 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 and that's it and no more. And what we've seen is that the beast has come off the chains. It is running loose. It is doing whatever it wants. It is completely untethered to the Constitution, whether it's civil liberties, whether it is intervention into the marketplace. The government has simply come loose from its moorings, and the moorings are the Constitution. And if we cannot return back to our Constitution and return back to sound money, get rid of this monstrosity called the Federal Reserve that embezzles money from the people, and I believe get back to our traditional faith-based beliefs, the future looks bleak for this country. We would not be the first empire to crumble into dust. We were formed with such great promise, and we have done such great work across the world, and we have been, for many years, a shining beacon to the rest of the world. And I increasingly worry when I look at our culture, when I look at what we export, the Lady Gaga, Little Wayne culture we export around the world, I worry whether or not we still are that bright, shining light. And I think we need to work together and pull together to defend our civil liberties, to get rid of the Federal Reserve, to go back to those values and beliefs and morals that made this country great.
Rick, thank you. We appreciate that. The Tea Party's closing statement time is up.